So I want to invite you into a living process. And you can begin by taking a breath into your heart and remembering your aliveness. In contrast to all that has come before, memory, in contrast to all that is apparently to come, fantasy, imagination, I want to invite you into this split instant that we have here right now. And you'll know that you have entered it because there's this kind of a softening that takes place in your body, a kind of a stillness that begins to permeate through your mind. So let's take a breath right now into our heart, remembering that center, the divine center within us, that center in which we know that there's something great within us. There's a greatness that wants to emerge. There's a greatness that we want to see with our eyes as we look around the world. And something in that center feels the contrast between the greatness that we know and the appearances that seem to contradict that. So I want you to place your attention right now on the front of your chest here and taking a deep breath in into your heart, feeling the expansion. And as you exhale, release the future just for now, letting go of all plans, letting go of all expectations, letting go of anticipation just for now. We're creating a container for the experience. So breathe into the front of your chest, of your heart. And as you continue to breathe and exhale, as if you're unplugging, allow that to just release this connection of what's happening next. No next. No next. Just this. Just for now. And begin to just feel yourself starting to drop in. Likewise, you can take a moment to connect with your back, the back of your heart, the back of your body, the center, and take a breath into the back of your heart. And as you exhale, consciously release the past, release the focus and the grasping on the narrative, who you are, where you came from, what you did, what happened to you, what she said, what he, all of that. Releasing our attachment to the past, releasing our connection to it. And you may notice that as you explore this, there's a kind of anticipation. Well, but what, then what, then what? Nothing. Just this. We're just landing right here and now. This is our starting point, and this is also our ending point and our journey in between. This moment, without the shadow of what's to come, without the interpretation from the lens of what has come before. This moment holds the key for us. And no matter where you're coming from in this moment, no matter what has happened before, maybe you had a wonderful, incredible experience. Maybe you just came out of an argument. Maybe you are whatever. All of that is a construct that we are living inside of. And I asked in the chat on the YouTube stream, what is this illusion, right? We're here as spiritual seekers. We're here as truth seekers. We're here as ones who want to embody truth, love, peace, higher consciousness. We want this. We want our divinity to shine through. So what's preventing us? What is it that stands in the way of you living, breathing the truth, that promise that we hear in every spiritual text, every book, every talk, this something, right? The something that we're trying to get to. Isn't that the illusion? Isn't the illusion that we're trying to get to some place other than here? And we're doing that right here, right where we are. The past tells us that something is wrong, something's missing. We have this sense that at some point, somewhere, we didn't have this need, this lack that we're trying to now fill. And so we think, okay, yeah, we didn't have it. So if I could just get the right partner, if I could just get the right book, if I could just get enough money, if I could just get enough people to approve of me and validate me and say that I'm okay, maybe then it's going to go away, that sense of unsettledness. And if you consider what's happening in the world and in the people of the world, including our own dream character avatars, what is it that motivates all of our activity? Is the way you live your life like a painter paints a painting, or like somebody that is just lost in a dance and dancing and moving their body? Is that how we live our life? For just the journey and the experience of the moment? For the expression of the song, like the songbirds that sing in the mornings? Or are we motivated differently? I would love for you to consider this, because the moment of awakening, the moment of freedom, it is the distance that we have from it is the distance of our illusion in which we believe that something is missing. It's the distance in our mind that creates this enormous chasm between where I am now and where I apparently want to be. And I want to share something from my life, an experience that maybe you can relate to. I'm just checking in the comments. I see Nico saying the illusion of time and ego. Yeah. And Molotov girl, the illusion of separation. And Emily, I see you. Thank you. Um, Here's the illusion. So many years ago, maybe like 4 or 5 or 6 years ago, I was in a ceremony, and I remember stepping outside and looking at the ocean, and it was this beautiful oceanfront home, and I was looking at the nature and the seagulls and the waves and the trees around, and I was saying, "Wow, this this is the vision. This is where I want to be. I see myself living in this life." And the ocean surrounded by nature, beautiful sounds of animals and birds, and just this sense of serenity. The view was so inspiring. And I said, yes, that is the thing. Okay. And then I practiced all of the different techniques. The one that stands out to me the most is, of course, Neville's work, right? Um, sure that many of us have now heard about Neville Goddard. At that point, it was still quite obscure and kind of new. It was just the resurgence was just starting. But that practice of living in the end, he calls it living in the end. And so, what does that mean in the way that I interpreted it? Well, I was closing my eyes, I was relaxing, and I was picturing myself standing there on the patio, out looking over the ocean, feeling inspired, feeling the beauty, breathing in the beauty of nature and the beautiful scene, and just feeling so grateful to be right here where I am. And some few years went by, and it so happened that we were moving, looking for a new property. And then I wasn't finding. And we kept looking at homes, and nothing was feeling quite right. We're also pregnant at that time. My wife was about 8 months pregnant. So we had a very short time to find our new home. And so I was just kind of like, okay, maybe I should just settle for something. Like, let's just go like with whatever, can work. But this last home that we saw, I exhausted all of the different options. I started to reach out through real estate listings. We weren't trying to buy a home. We were wanting to rent a home and just experience living in a new place. And so nothing was coming up. So I thought, okay, let me try something different. I started to call up the real estate listings and to see, okay, maybe you guys want to rent your home since, you haven't sold it yet. And one of these responded, and we came to see it. And it was that home. I stepped out and I saw it, and I was standing in my vision, and everything was perfect. And we said yes, and they said yes, and we're in that beautiful home. And this summer, I'm sitting on that patio in which I've always envisioned myself so many times for probably years and months. Oh, yes. And here I am, I'm sitting there, and I'm thinking, hmm, something's still missing. What is it that I need, right? And as an entrepreneur, as a father, um, I'm like, okay, maybe what we need is a certain amount of money. And if I have that money, and then, we would have that security, and then maybe I could spend even more time with family. Maybe then I could truly enjoy this nature that I've surrounded myself with, right? That vision. Because what I've realized when I was sitting there is that even though I have everything that at one point I dreamed about, nothing was any different. There was no special joy or anything coming to me from the fact that now I'm in this home. Now I have the same that thing that I thought, oh, this thing, right, would make me, maybe I wouldn't say it as, somebody spiritual, that it would make me happy, because I'm like, oh yeah, but happiness doesn't come from the outside. But of course, that's what's motivating us. If we really, really get honest with our way of navigating life. We are human, right? Or as I see Sidra saying, the illusion of being human. This is so good. This is so good. This is exactly where we're going. We're spiritual beings experiencing a human physical world. So we are limitless. Yeah, that's absolutely true, Sidra. And we get to see glimpses of this, right? I think many of us have had this like glitch in the matrix, and you get the sense that, oh, wow, like whatever is this encompassing thing called the world is a speck, a tiny speck in something so much grander and vaster than this big, vast world that that we're little beings in. And so as I was sitting there contemplating, then what else? What is needed? What seems to be missing? And I was journaling, and I'm like, yeah, this thing, that would be great. Yeah, if it was like this. And then I said, okay, so if I had all of that, then what? And I wonder if you have ever considered this way, like to consider all of your desires met. Let's say right now, they are completely met. You got the money, you got partner, you got the home you want, you got the car, you got the whatever label, and people think you're enlightened or whatever, right? So like the outside appearances all confirm to you, yeah, it's exactly how I want it. People think I'm very peaceful, and yeah, I am pretty peaceful, And so there you are. And ask yourself, so what? So what? And now what? This is exactly what I came to when I asked myself, So what would I want if I had all that money, if I had all of those conditions in the way that my egoic separate self mind is thinking, okay, yeah, this is what we need. My answer, and I wonder what yours is, but my answer was, what would I really love to do? I would love to sit right here where I am, looking out at nature, journaling, contemplating life, right? And you might come to the same because in these moments when we kind of feel like, oh gosh, something's missing and I need to get it, in these very same moments, if we look at what would we be doing if we had that? You know, maybe in your fantasy, yeah, well, I would travel and I would do all this, but what would you really be doing? Probably hanging out in nature, spending time with friends, having conversations that you love, which is what I'm doing here with you. Having conversations that I love, spending time in nature when I want to. And yet, in our mind, we create this chasm, this like abyss between where we are and apparently we want to again be right here where we are, but having gone through some arc of achievement and amassing some kind of whatever it may be. It may be spiritual powers, it may be money, it may be uh, whatever it is that's based on our own imprints and traumas and whatever way this egoic identity was shaped, it is going to tell you what you need. And when the picture matches what you think you need, it will give you a sigh of relief. But then it will say, but wait. So we can really call this the illusion of being human. Because what's happening is that we are going on these mind trips all the time. Even right now, as we've gone through that story, right? The mind's like, oh yeah, I like stories. And it's like, okay, but now what? So now just drop back in. Drop back into this moment. There is something really powerful and sacred about the stillness, the silence, the zero-ness of now. It is truly like an energetic shower for you to just take a breath, exhale, relax your shoulders, relax your jaw, and allow for a split second, however long it lasts, the zero to be the only thing that is. The zero is all that is minus the overlay of the mind. It's as if human beings are caught in some kind of web and or maybe some kind of maze. A maze in which the walls are invisible, but we are trying to get to something. I had an interesting discussion in one of the groups this morning that it's almost as if, you know, and we call it the rat race, right? This consciousness, the consciousness of the world. Why? What's a rat race? What are rats racing for? Cheese, right? They want to get cheese. They want to get that food. And so we have this maze and we're all looking around and some of us are like, hey, I found some cheese over there. And then a bunch of people are like, oh yeah, let's go get that cheese. And then there's this one, and then there's this one. And so we're all striving after these little tunnels in the maze where some rats discovered some cheese, right? And then all the human beings, we're all like that. We're like, okay, yeah, maybe there's something over here. Let's all go there. Let's get that. Okay, we got that. Oh, this next one is over here. Yeah, this next one is saying there's more cheese over there. And that's essentially the game that's being played. But where? It's only here. It's only in our mind. Because no matter, as you have seen yourself multiple times, no matter how far you go to get something, And you can say, yeah, that was a wonderful experience. But in the end, you are right back to exactly where you started from. It's the hero's journey, right? Joseph Campbell talked about this, right? What is the arc of the hero's journey? There's some kind of a problem in the village, like a dragon is trying to, take the villagers' food. And then some brave soul says, you know what, I'm gonna go out and I'm gonna slay the dragon. I'm going to free us. And so it goes through the different stages, disbelief, doubt, etc. Finally coming to this crescendo. And yes, I put in all this effort, all this training, and yes, I got the dragon. I lost something, I lost my arm or whatever, but yes, I got it. Coming home with the dragon, you know, horn or whatever, saying, yes, I got it. Yay! And we're happily ever after. But the story ends there. The fairy tales, the movie, etc., they all end there. But that's not the end. The end is the next scene where that brave soul is like, so I got this dragon horn, and now what do I do? Right? Now what? And we can see this all over when people reach the zenith of like success or achievement. Many of them end up feeling deeply depressed. Many of them end up taking their own lives. Why? Because we are under this illusion that something's missing and that we can go and get it. And when we get it, we will be free. And so all of those human beings in the little rat race in the maze, going around trying to find the right thing, and then they find it. Yes, everybody said that this was the right thing. Look at my life. Ah, but I still feel that same emptiness. Because right now, then, another projection takes place. Well, I got this, but something's still missing. So if we really went to the bottom of this, we would find that nothing in this world can add anything to us. No amount of money, no amount of adoration, no amount of achievement is going to free up that illusion, which is the illusion of perpetual lack. It's the illusion of separation. What is lack? Lack is separation from our good, whatever is our good. Yeah, what's our highest good? We're separate from that, apparently. And we're going to go out and find that, or we're going to find the means so that we can finally have that. I have friends who are entrepreneurs also, and they're like, yeah, you know what? I'm going to first make my money and then I'll meditate when I'm older. Like, then maybe I'll pursue my spiritual, um, you know, path. And we have this sense that we are going to find completion in something that we can achieve in this world. This is the illusion. This is the illusion that results in war, in depression, in anger, in every possible painful experience. It's the illusion that we are separate from our good and that by our effort, by our self-doing, yeah, the Bhagavad Gita is the book that entirely focuses on how soul doership is an illusion. But yet, it doesn't matter if we have read that, doesn't matter if we heard of non-duality, doesn't matter if we believe thy will, not mine, and we pray that every day. Nonetheless, we still continue to assume that under our own individual effort, we will close the gap of lack. And so as long as this illusion persists, as long as when it shows up in myriad of forms, all kinds of forms, not just about money or manifesting your perfect partner or home or vacation or whatever lifestyle, in all the myriad of forms that this idea persists, the idea of lack, scarcity, sacrifice, as long as that's in place, it will make no difference whether you are making $50,000 or 250 or 500,000, whether you live in a little hut somewhere or whether you have a multi-bedroom mansion, it makes no difference. That same process, that same feeling, that same quality in consciousness persists. And so what I want to invite you into is, how about we get under the hood, so to speak? How about we start to observe this thing, right? This I sometimes call it virus, right? It's almost as if like in computer software, like there's a virus that drops in and hijacks the system. It's the same way that viruses apparently work. Apparently, these days everything is so questionable. Like what used to be like hard science and like all of these concepts of like, yes, we all believe that, now like it's crumbling all around the edges. But apparently viruses work the same way, that they hijack the mechanisms of the cell and get the cell to produce something that is not for its own good. They get the cell to produce the virus. So it's very similar. Here we have spiritual being dropping into whatever that means, into this experience of human existence. And apparently it could be beatific and like Eden, but what's happening is that there's this virus, there's this thing that drops in, and instead of it being that we, as the spiritual being, are expressing and producing the original nature, right? In A Course in Miracles, it says that we are created as creators, right? That not only that we are created as creators, that we are actually already creators and we have our own creations, true creations. And yet, instead of producing in our own likeness, which is the likeness of peace, love, joy, eternal life, we are producing the virus. We are producing separation, anger, resentment, grievances, etc. So I want to invite you to consider that there is an aspect of consciousness within you that is kind of rogue, and it pretends to be you. It speaks with the name of I inside. That's why we keep listening to it, right? It's like, and that's why we defend our thoughts and we get into conflicts based on ideas and beliefs, because that virus, that programming, that matrix-like injection, so to speak, is using our own name, the name of I am. Nisargadatta called it the false I, right? It's the I that appears in thought. You do not appear in thought. Take a deep breath and let it go. Notice that no matter where you look, you, the conscious, aware presence, you can't see yourself. There's no like, oh, that one is me, or this thought or that thing. It's clearly not, because you are sitting in the theater, so to speak, of this inner world and watching the movements of thought, images, sensations, emotions, watching the appearances. Nothing there has to do with I, right? The mind, the thoughts are reflected in the world. But the mind is not I. I is something else. I is the one that continues to witness, to see, to observe. But the I, and this is the core of our spiritual truth is changeless, eternal, unalterable. The dream is changeful. impermanent, anicca, as the Buddha would say in Pali. Impermanence. So there's constant change, right? And for us to find this contrast between the changeless and the changing is for us to find the contrast between the truth and the illusion. So why don't we find this contrast now? Much has been said about this, and a lot has been written. But the experience of it is the only thing that has any power to truly transform consciousness. Our invitation is to come back to our true self. So take another deep breath. Let it go. Feel the now. Feel the now in the same way that we might consider this screen that you might see me on. This screen is like the now. It is changeless. It is stationary. It's unmoving. It's unending. It is just there. But the images, myself, other, whatever might come on your screen, notifications, emails, whatever it is, chat roll, and even the images of myself, all of this is changing. All of this is moving, appearing and disappearing. Connect with the now as the constant within which change and dynamic activity takes place. Typically, we only pay attention to change. This is how our nervous system is conditioned. The animal pays attention to change because change means either food or it means that there's a predator. And so it's important to pay attention to change because change is about survival. The changeless has nothing to do with survival. There's no advantages, no disadvantages. There's nothing to gain. There's also nothing to lose. So if it helps, I invite you to maybe close your eyes and begin to sense that within this container of changeless presence of now, everything unfolds the same way as it does on the screen. Is anything that happening on the screen, is that progressing somewhere as the screen would witness it? Or is it just like waves in a little square or a rectangle or whatever it is? Waves appearing, disappearing, pixels lighting up, fading back away, changing colors. Is there any progress? Is there somewhere to get to? Is there something missing? This is our opportunity. Because from the point of view of the dream character self and its mind, the body's mind, that's the one that calls itself I when you talk, when you hear thoughts happening, those automated thoughts, the narrative, etc. That place and that consciousness will always, forever be in conflict. It will always be trying to get somewhere due to a sense of lack and fear, and it will always try to defend itself due to its need for survival. Witness this. Realize that literally it's almost like having a novel, right? And you know that this novel is all about conflict, war, strife, lack, struggle. And you have this novel, let's say, okay, and you're taking this and you're opening it up and you say, today I want to read a story about beauty and love and oneness and enlightenment and illumination and connection. It's still about war and conflict. How come? How come? I wanted to read about love. Okay, maybe I'll try again tomorrow. Maybe I'll try again with another partner. Maybe I'll try again when I have more money. Maybe I'll try again after I read some spiritual books and meditated for some time. Let's try. It's still the same book about war. It's still about conflict. It's still about separation. What the? And you know what that is. This is the insanity of being under the hypnotic spell of the illusion. That book of the separate self that is continuously running in your mind, the narrative of Boris or Nico or Emily or Sidra or any one of us, right? Or Lars, um, that story will never have a happy ending. That story is this perpetual novel that is crystallized into uh, this dance between good and evil, right? How many of you have heard about Joel Goldsmith? Not Goldstein, not the mega church guy. Joel Goldsmith. He was a teacher in Hawaii, I think in like the 60s, 50s. And well, I think one of his most famous works is called The Infinite Way. If you have never seen it, check it out. It's not very sensational, but it's also not dry. It is a very, very interesting, very potent perspective. But in essence, he just points out something that I think is important to our conversation and contemplation here. The belief in two powers. This belief in two powers is another name for the illusion. It's, again, of course, the belief in separation. It's the belief in lack. It's the belief in struggle. Yeah. Yeah, Emily. Um, yeah, he's got some powerful talks. And he's got, of course, he had a healing ministry, right? So how would he heal? This is the interesting thing. How did Joel Goldsmith heal? Did he do Ho'oponopono? Did he do Reiki? Did he, you know, give massage? No. He healed exclusively by knowing the truth. Knowing the truth that who stands before him is not a human being that is ailing, but the Christ, the Buddha, the essence of divinity stands before him. And there's an illusion, an appearance, a hypnotism that appears as if it's a human being. And he knew it is no human being, it is perfection, and there is no law, no power, no entity, no force that has any influence or power over the true essence of who and what we are. And by his knowing and standing in his field, people got healed. And so the core thing was the belief in two powers. This is a foundation of his teaching. The moment that you believe in two powers is the moment that you know that you are in the illusion, that you are completely asleep. No matter how enlightened you seem to be, no matter how strong you seem to be, when you believe that there's two powers, good and evil, or that there's you and another power that you're struggling against, be it the power that's, your business partner, your life partner, your mother, father, whatever it may be, and you are in this conflict, that is the signature of illusion. That is what we're waking up out of. If I'm not mistaken, today's Course in Miracles lesson is I am not the victim of the world I see. By the way, if you are into Course in Miracles, I'm doing a round of immersive meditation for A Course in Miracles. I'll drop the link into the description if you want to join us there. I think you would really enjoy it if you enjoy the way we're contemplating here, embodying the lessons. So if today's lesson is I'm not the victim of the world I see, the very basis for that is that the world I see is a projection of my own mind. There are not two powers. There is one power, one presence, one projector, one source. And that source is through me and not in opposition to me. Nothing is in opposition to me. That is why I'm not the victim of the world I see. If if there's any other power other than God, other than love, other than the infinite creator, then what we have is not God, not an infinite creator, but some kind of a war between demigods, right? For there to be something other than omnipotence means that there is no God. But if omnipotence, one power, is the truth and the reality, then there is no threat. And here we have the entire encapsulation of A Course in Miracles. Nothing real can be threatened. Oh, and nothing unreal exists. Nothing real can be threatened because there's only one power, and nothing unreal exists because there's only one power. There's only one source. So, coming back to that maze of the mind, it is peopled with separate powers. That's why in relationship, we constantly feel strain and threat and lack of safety. And I don't mean that constantly and consciously we feel that, but it is this underlying space. You will know that, as you step into an unknown relationship or an unknown dynamic, maybe in another country, maybe you don't understand what's happening, there's a sense of like, oh, and so that oh is the belief that maybe there's a power out there that will hurt me. Maybe there's a power out there that is going to do something to me that I don't want them to do. And even at the level of your most intimate relationship, A Course in Miracles talks about this too, that there's multiple things going on. So don't let me discount the truth, because the truth is that we are all in holy relationship also. Understand that there is two narratives running. There is the narrative of this egoic dream matrix of separation, and then there's a narrative of what might be called the happy dream, and then there's the truth. Then there's you witnessing these and switching channels between them, maybe or maybe not. So at the level of most relationships, it is simply an alliance, an egoic alliance, in which we agree that we will help each other and not push each other's buttons, etc. Of course, that all gets twisted upside down, but we form an alliance where it's us still against the world, right? So we're again living in this world of multiple powers. We come together. We still have that big mean world out there that we're trying to figure out. And then sometimes we're even in conflict with each other. So for us to believe all of that and to live from the premise like that's reality, that's the truth, this is our dream. This is the dream of separation. And many times All of our spiritual practice, all of our prayer, all of our meditation, all of our exploration of insight is happening still within that context of being inside of the story. So let's take just a few minutes to drop out of the story. If you'd like to, take a deep breath, let it go, and close your eyes. We're closing the outer eyes that can only witness to appearances. And we want to see with what the Course in Miracles calls vision. Remember, vision does not depend on the body's eyes. So we're letting the body's eyes close. And begin to sense for the changeless. This is the first clue. We're moving in the direction of truth if we are favoring the changeless over the changing. How do we find it? Begin with this. In between every sound is silence. Sounds come and go. Silence remains. Catch the silence in between the words. And then notice that the silence remains there regardless of the words. It is a constant background that doesn't leave, doesn't change. You can lose sight of it because it's constant, but it does not disappear. So begin to rest into the silence. Rest into it like it's your throne, like it's the most comfortable, the most dignified seat. And you take this seat within your center, within your own being, sitting on the throne of silence and stillness. We witness from here. Connecting with stillness, you may move your body a little bit, kind of sway back and forth, and feel the movement in contrast to something, right? If you can feel the movement, you can only feel it against the contrast. Pay attention to the contrast. You can slow down the movement into stillness of the body and just catch the frequency of stillness. And then you can relax your body entirely. Stillness, silence. And let's bring in the last one here, space. Notice the space around your body, the space between you and the walls of the room that you are in, or the objects in the space you are in. Feel the space. Notice that it carries the qualities of stillness and silence. I'm not talking about the air, I'm talking about the space within which there is air and objects and molecules and all kinds of things. All that is within the space is changing. Space is changeless. Use this triangle, silence, stillness, space. Let your awareness become aware of all 3 points at once, if you can, or if not, just for a few moments, rotate through these 3. Connecting with silence. Ah, yes, it's still there. Stillness. space. And begin to allow yourself to relax into this. You may notice that thoughts are gentle and quiet if they appear at all. And know that as you rest here, it's as if you are plugged in to some kind of frequency detox technology. It is literally cleansing all of that illusion code out of your mind and body. The longer you linger here, truly though, linger, not unconsciously drifting into just kind of a reverie and dreaminess, but aware and plugged into silence, stillness, space. You are remembering your own true nature. I want to remind you that you are the head of this kingdom, the kingdom of your life. You're not its victim, this world, inner world, outer world. Within this world, the inner being the cause of the outer, your kingship, your queenship, your divine nature, which even surpasses any kind of royal nature. This sits on the throne, and what happens is what you desire. What does not occur is what you do not want to happen. Coming to the acceptance of this is liberation. Believing that there are multiple powers controlling you, affecting you, influencing you. This is being plugged into the dream matrix and accepting the role of a separate self with all of its programming, which is preset and unalterable. Your dream character self will never be your true self. Just like the book about war and conflict and struggle will never suddenly start to have a story there about love and connection and peace. But nothing stops you from putting the book down, picking up an entirely different book, or literally leaving the narratives entirely and lifting your gaze up from the book and realizing, oh wow, I'm already in the kingdom. I've already been always right where I've always wanted to be. I have never moved from here. So being in this stillness, silence space and witnessing life from here, we deprogram our habitual knee-jerk participation in the dream world. We begin to see the futility of trying to find freedom through the separate self. And be patient. Be so patient. Be infinitely patient. If you want it to be instant, then be infinitely patient. Infinitely patient. Because as the Course in Miracles says, one of my favorite quotes from there is, only infinite patience brings instant results. Rest in the truth of your being. And the remembrance will dissolve all of these seeming dream-like entanglements. And this maze, this invisible maze of the mind, we realize there was no maze. There's nothing to get out of. We thought there were, and we thought there was. But the truth of the love, the power, the sacredness, the wisdom, the reverence of the true self within us, these qualities begin to shine through more and more and more as we place our attention and awareness on the changeless, not a dry changeless where you're blanking out into a numbed concentration or detachment, but a deep connection with the aliveness that is already and always present as your very own being. So take another deep, full breath in. And as you let it go, gently open your eyes if they were closed. And I want to thank you for taking this journey with me. Christine, it's good to see you. Yeah, absolutely. There will be a recording, and I'll make sure I post it up um, in our channel. So I want to also leave time if there's any question or anything that you would like to touch in on before we wrap up. I absolutely welcome any kind of discussion. You can drop a comment in the chat if you have a question. If you're with us on Zoom, of course, you can just raise your hand and we can dialogue. So my goal is to be here perhaps weekly for this next month. I'm going to aim for coming on every Friday at 11 a.m. Pacific, and we'll see how that plays out. I know that not everybody in UK can make it, and many of us are in Europe as well. If it's necessary, we might explore having an earlier call as well. So I want to thank you so much for taking this time and investing it into your own awakening. And because all minds are joined, it's the awakening of the world that we are experiencing through ourselves, because the world is a projection of our inner world. So be kind to yourself and take time. The triangle, right? Stillness, silence, space. Allow yourself to experience this. At one point, I'll make a more formal meditation. There's the 5S meditation in the membership, which is very similar. It has 5 of the components, not just 3. And if you are a member, you can reconnect with that. It's available there. But if not, just work with the triangle and allow yourself to spend like 5 minutes, 1 minute, moments throughout the day. It will begin to defragment your inner world, you'll come to more and more and more of a remembrance. And maybe this is something we do together. We'll see. Maybe at some point I would just do a quick live stream from my phone, and we can take these moments to bask in our true nature together. So thank you very much. It's a pleasure and a blessing to be here with you. And I wish you a beautiful, powerful week ahead. Remember the truth, extend the truth, project the truth, and see it in the world around you. Okay. Take great care